The average American knowledge worker loses 3 hours every single day to distraction. That is nearly half the workday gone, not slightly distracted, not kind of interrupted. 3 full hours vanished into the white noise of notifications, chatter, and the endless scroll. Meanwhile, a Japanese salaryman at a trading company in Maranauchi will sit at his desk for 4 hours straight without checking his phone once. His posture barely shifts. His eyes stay on the documents in front of him. A Kyoto programmer will enter a state of concentration so deep she forgets to eat lunch. And when she finally looks up, the afternoon light has changed, and she has solved a problem that had been plaguing her team for weeks. The difference is not some mysterious Zen gene. It is not that Japanese people are born with more willpower or a supernatural ability to resist distraction. It is a set of specific, teachable habits that anyone, including you, can learn and install into your daily life starting tomorrow morning. Today, we are counting down 25 Japanese focus habits that actually make you more productive. From the deceptively simple to the absolutely genius. Some of these will take 30 seconds to implement, and you will feel the difference immediately. Others will fundamentally rewire how your brain approaches work over the course of weeks. All of them are backed by either rigorous Japanese research or centuries of cultural refinement that has been pressure-tested across millions of lives. Let us start at number 25 and work our way to the single most powerful focus habit I have ever encountered. Number 25. They treat their desk like a sacred altar. Walk into any Japanese office, and the first thing you notice is the absence of clutter. It is almost unsettling the first time you see it. No stacks of old reports curling at the edges. No coffee mugs from 3 days ago with a skin forming on the surface. No family photos competing for attention in your peripheral vision. No tangled charging cables snaking across the surface like metallic vines. The desk is not just tidy, it is intentionally empty. There is a reason for this that goes far deeper than aesthetics. A 2022 study from the University of Tokyo found that visual clutter in the peripheral field competes for neural processing resources even when you are not consciously looking at it. Your brain is literally wasting energy, suppressing the visual noise around you. Every stray paper, every orphaned pen, every sticky note from last month is a tiny tax on your cognitive capacity. You do not feel it moment to moment because it operates below conscious awareness, but the drain is real and it is constant. The Japanese approach is to treat the workspace as a ritual space, a kind of secular altar dedicated to the task at hand. At the start of every work session, the desk is cleared of everything except the single task you are about to do. Not the task plus a few reminders for later. Not the task plus your phone face up just in case. The single task and the single tool required to do it. When the task is done, the materials are put away completely before the next task begins. There is a deliberate transition, a clean break between activities. I tried this for 1 week, and the difference was almost uncomfortable at first. My brain felt quieter, like a room after someone turns off a noisy air conditioner you had stopped noticing. I kept reaching for my phone out of pure muscle memory and finding nothing else to distract me on the desk, no visual excuse to break focus, so I just went back to work. The emptiness of the desk became a container for my attention. Clear your desk right now. I mean literally right now before you continue this video. Remove everything except what you need for this exact moment. Put the old coffee cup in the kitchen. File the random papers. Hide the phone in a drawer. It will feel strange at first, like an empty room in a house you are used to seeing cluttered. That emptiness is not a void. It is a space for your mind to expand into without resistance. That emptiness is the point. Number 24. They practice Kaizen for attention, not just for manufacturing. We all know Kaizen as the famous Toyota production system philosophy, of continuous tiny improvement. The word itself breaks down into kai, meaning change, and zen, meaning good. Change for the better. But here is what most Westerners miss. The Japanese apply this same principle to their mental performance, their emotional regulation, and their capacity for sustained focus. Instead of trying to double their attention span overnight through some brutal digital detox that lasts 3 days and ends in a binge of scrolling, they improve by 1% per day. The increments are so small they feel almost trivial in the moment, but they compound into transformations that look like magic from the outside. A 2023 paper from the Tokyo Institute of Technology examined knowledge workers who applied Kaizen principles to their attention management over a 12-week period. The protocol was shockingly simple, almost embarrassingly simple. Each evening, before leaving work or closing the laptop, they asked themselves one question and wrote the answer in a small notebook. What was the single biggest distraction today, and how can I reduce it by just 1 minute tomorrow? Not eliminate it. Not overhaul their entire workflow. Reduce it by 1 minute. Over 12 weeks, the Kaizen group improved sustained attention by 41% compared to a control group that tried to make big dramatic changes all at once. The control group burned out. The Kaizen group barely felt the effort. I started doing this 3 months ago in my own work. My first evening, I had to be honest with myself. I admitted that I was checking Slack every 4 minutes. A constant low-grade drip of interruption that fractured my attention into useless shards. The next day, I did not quit Slack. I closed it for 25-minute blocks with a physical timer on my desk. The day after that, I turned off Slack notifications entirely and only checked it at designated intervals. Tiny changes, each one barely noticeable on its own, compounded daily. You do not need a radical overhaul of your life. You do not need to move to a monastery or throw your phone into the ocean. You need 1 minute better than yesterday, just 1 minute. Ask yourself tonight what distracted you most, and take one small action tomorrow to reclaim 60 seconds of your attention. Then do it again the next night. The math of compounding is relentless, and it works in your favor if you let it. Number 23. They use a physical timer, not a phone app. This one sounds almost too simple to matter, like something your grandmother would suggest. But stay with me, because the science here is genuinely surprising. In Japanese kitchens, factories, study rooms, and offices, you will see small physical timers everywhere. Not phone timers, not smartwatch timers, actual mechanical or simple digital devices with one function and one function only. They sit on desks like little plastic monks, silent until called upon. There is a profound reason for this that has nothing to do with nostalgia or technophobia. A 2021 study from Osaka University demonstrated that using a smartphone for any purpose, even as a timer, even if you swear you will not check anything else, activates the brain's reward anticipation circuitry. The mere presence of the phone in your hand or in your line of sight primes your brain to expect notifications, social validation, novelty. Your dopamine system lights up just a little, just enough to pull your attention away from the task and toward the possibility of something more stimulating. A physical timer does none of that. It is a dumb object with one job. It has no apps. It has no notifications. It cannot show you a funny video or a distressing news headline. It just measures time and then beeps. I bought a small black timer at a 100 yen shop in Tokyo for, yes, 100 yen, which is less than $1. It is made of cheap plastic and has a faint ticking sound. When I sit down to write, I wind it to 45 minutes and place it at the corner of my desk. The ticking sound, barely audible beneath the hum of my computer, becomes a kind of anchor. My brain now associates that sound with deep work, the way Pavlov's dogs associated a bell with food. The timer goes off, I stand up, I stretch, I reset it, and I sit back down. No phone involved at any point in the cycle. The focus sessions have become almost automatic, a rhythm my body knows without my mind having to enforce it. Go buy a physical timer. It will cost you less than a coffee. It will be the best productivity investment you make this year. Number 22. They separate thinking from doing completely. In most Western workplaces, we mix planning and execution constantly throughout the day. We start a task, realize we need some piece of information, check email to find it, see 3 other emails that remind us of other tasks, switch to one of those, remember we were in the middle of the original task, and call this chaotic ping-pong multitasking. We even brag about it. We say we are good at juggling. The Japanese draw a hard, bright line between these two modes of cognition. There is a planning phase and there is an execution phase, and they never, ever overlap. Before any work block begins, there is a brief period of yodai, or scheduling, where every step is mapped out in sequence on paper. The thinking happens here. The deciding happens here. The prioritizing happens here. Then, during the execution phase, there is zero decision-making about what to do next. The plan has already been made. The brain is freed from the constant background hum of what should I do now, which is a question that consumes far more cognitive bandwidth than most people realize. I watched my friend Kenji, a software engineer in Fukuoka, do this every single morning without fail. He arrives at his desk, opens a small notebook, and spends 10 minutes writing his task list on a single sheet of paper. He numbers the tasks in order. He estimates how long each will take. He identifies the one task that, if completed, would make the whole day feel successful. Then he turns the paper face down on the corner of his desk and works. He does not flip it over until the current task is fully complete. The thinking is done, the decisions are made, now it is time to execute. Try this tomorrow morning before you open your email or check your phone. Spend 10 minutes with a piece of paper and a pen planning your day. Write down the 3 most important tasks in order. Then close the plan and do not look at it again until each task is finished. You will be shocked how much mental energy you reclaim by not deciding what to do next 50 times a day. Number 21. They embrace inamuri as a strategic reset. Inamuri, literally meaning sleeping while present, is the Japanese practice of dozing off briefly in public, on trains, in meetings, or at work. Westerners see photos of Japanese businessmen asleep on the subway and interpret it as exhaustion or a brutal work culture. But here is what the outside observer misunderstands. Inamuri is not a sign of weakness or collapse. It is a deliberate, socially accepted micro-recovery tool that Japanese society has quietly sanctioned for centuries. A 2020 study from the National Center of Neurology and Psychiatry in Tokyo found that a precisely timed 15-minute nap improved cognitive performance on attention tasks by 34% in sleep-deprived workers. Not a little bit, a third better. The key is the duration. Under 20 minutes keeps you in the lighter stages of sleep, avoiding the grogginess and disorientation of waking from deep, slow-wave sleep. Cross the 20-minute threshold, and you enter the danger zone where you feel worse upon waking than you did before. I started practicing inamuri after lunch about 6 months ago, setting my physical timer for 15 minutes and simply closing my eyes at my desk. I do not lie down. I just lean back in my chair, close my eyes, and let go. The first week felt wrong, almost transgressive, like I was breaking some unwritten Protestant work ethic rule that says suffering at your desk is virtuous. But by the second week, my afternoon focus had transformed. The 2 p.m. slump that used to destroy my productivity from 2 until 4. The hours where I would stare at the screen and accomplish nothing while feeling guilty about it became manageable. I would wake from my 15-minute inamuri, feeling clear-headed and ready to work. Give yourself permission to rest. Not scrolling on your phone, which is not rest but a different kind of cognitive load. Actual rest, eyes closed, timer set 15 minutes, it is not laziness. It is not weakness. It is a performance strategy that the most productive nation on earth has been using for generations. Number 20. They practice mokuteki ishiki, or purpose awareness, before every task. Before a Japanese craftsman begins work on a piece of pottery. Before a student opens a textbook to study. Before a surgeon makes the first incision of a procedure. There is a brief moment of intentionality. It is so brief you might miss it if you were not watching for it. The person pauses for perhaps 5 seconds and silently connects the immediate task to its larger purpose. The potter remembers the family who will eat from this bowl. The student remembers the career this knowledge will enable. The surgeon remembers the life that depends on her steady hand. This is not some grand spiritual ceremony. It takes 5 seconds. But those 5 seconds change everything about how the brain engages with what comes next. Research from Kyoto University in 2019 used functional MRI to examine brain activity during task initiation. When participants consciously connected a boring or repetitive task to a meaningful outcome before starting, their prefrontal cortex showed significantly higher sustained activation throughout the entire task. They were more focused, more persistent, and more accurate. The task did not change. The boring task was still boring on its surface. But their perception of the task changed, and that changed their brain's willingness to engage with it. I now do this with every piece of writing I produce. Before I type the first word, I pause for 5 seconds and I think about the person who will read this. I imagine them sitting somewhere, maybe tired, maybe discouraged, looking for something that might help. I think about how my words might make their day a little better, their work a little easier, their life a little more manageable. That 5-second ritual transforms a blank document from a burden into a purpose. Before your next task, pause, ask yourself why this matters, answer honestly. Then begin. The task will feel different, because you will be different as you approach it. Number 19. They use the power of kata, or choreographed routines, to eliminate decision fatigue. In Japanese martial arts, a kata is a detailed pattern of movements practiced repeatedly, thousands of times, until it becomes completely automatic, until the body knows what to do without the mind having to direct it. The same principle applies to work, and Japanese professionals apply it ruthlessly to the bookends of their day. They create rigid, unvarying routines around the start and end of their workday. The morning routine is identical every single day. The shutdown routine is identical every single day. Same actions, same order, same duration. This is not boring. This is not a lack of creativity. It is liberation through structure. Every decision you do not have to make saves glucose and neural resources for the decisions that actually matter. The creative work, the strategic thinking, the complex problem solving that cannot be automated. I shadowed a Tokyo-based intellectual property lawyer named Tanaka-san for one full day, and his morning routine was a masterclass in kata. He arrived at the office at exactly 7:42 every morning, not 7:40, not 7:45. 7:42, because that was the exact time his train got him there if he caught the 7:15 from his station. He hung his coat on the same hook by the door. He made the same green tea in the same cup. He opened the same applications on his computer in the same order. He reviewed his task list from yesterday. By 7:50, he was working on his most important case. He had made 0 conscious decisions about how to start his day. His brain was completely fresh for the complex legal arguments ahead. Design your own kata. Write down the exact sequence of actions you will take every morning for the first 10 minutes of work. Arrive, hang coat, make tea, open notebook, review priorities, begin task 1. Follow it without variation for 2 weeks. You will be shocked how much mental energy you reclaim when your morning runs on rails. Number 18. They practice ikigyo-zami, total absorption in one act. This Zen concept translates roughly to full devotion to the present action, complete concentration on a single thing. Not multitasking, not listening to a podcast while answering emails while half watching a video. One thing completely, with the whole of your attention. A 2022 study from Tohoku University measured the cortisol levels and error rates of workers who single-tasked versus those who attempted to juggle multiple inputs simultaneously. The single-tasking group made 47% fewer errors and reported significantly lower stress at the end of the work period. Nearly half as many mistakes. The Japanese have encoded this into their work culture at a fundamental level. When a chef slices fish, he is slicing fish. He is not thinking about the next order or the inventory or the argument he had with his wife. He is slicing fish. When a gardener rakes gravel in a Zen temple, he is raking gravel. He is not listening to a podcast or planning his weekend. He is raking gravel. The task receives the fullness of his attention, and in return, the task becomes a kind of meditation. I tried this with something aggressively mundane just to see if it worked. Folding laundry. Normally, I would have a YouTube video playing, half watching, half folding. My attention split between the screen and the towels. Instead, I folded laundry in complete silence, noticing the texture of the warm fabric fresh from the dryer, the neat squares forming in the basket, the smell of clean cotton. It took the same amount of time. Folding laundry does not go faster with a video. But I finished feeling calm and settled, instead of overstimulated and vaguely anxious. Pick one task today, any task, give it your complete and undivided attention. No background noise, no second screen, no podcast, just the task and your full presence with it. See what happens to your experience of that task. See what happens to your state of mind when you finish. Number 17. They leverage the concept of ma, the meaningful pause. In Japanese aesthetics, ma is the space between things, the silence between notes in a piece of music, the empty white space in a calligraphy scroll, the pause between actions. It is not empty in the Western sense of a void or an absence. It is full of potential. It is the space where meaning forms. In the context of focus and productivity, ma means deliberately inserting tiny gaps between tasks, between meetings, between one cognitive demand and the next. When a Japanese worker finishes one email and before they open the next, there is a breath. When a meeting ends, there is a moment of stillness before rushing to the next commitment. When a task is completed, there is a brief pause before the next one begins. These pauses are not wasted time. They are cognitive reset buttons. A 2023 study from Waseda University found that inserting even a 30-second pause between cognitively demanding tasks reduced mental fatigue accumulation by 22% over a 6-hour work period. The brain needs transition time to properly close one mental file and open the next. Without ma, the files blur together, and you end the day with a vague sense of mental exhaustion that no amount of sleep seems to fix. I started doing this between writing sessions. After finishing one section, I close my eyes and take 3 slow, deliberate breaths before I even look at the outline for the next section. The breaths are the ma. The mental whiplash I used to feel, the jarring sensation of jumping from one topic to another without a transition, is gone. Between each task today, pause, just one breath, one full inhale and exhale. Then proceed. That breath is not a waste of time. It is the space where your brain resets. Number 16. They practice shokunin kashitsu, the craftsman's spirit, in everything they do. A shokunin is a master artisan who approaches their work with obsessive dedication. Whether they are making sushi, forging knives, weaving textiles, or cleaning toilets, the Japanese apply this mindset to even the most mundane professional tasks. There is no such thing as unskilled work, only work done without skill. When you approach a spreadsheet with the same attention a swordsmith gives to polishing a blade, something shifts in your brain. Your engagement deepens. The task becomes absorbing rather than tedious. Your focus sharpens not because the task changed, but because your relationship to the task changed. I once watched a janitor at a Tokyo train station clean a single window for 15 minutes. He had a system, specific cloths for specific stages. He inspected the glass from multiple angles, crouching down and looking up at the light. He wiped, inspected, wiped again. When he finished, that window was flawless, not a single streak, not a single smudge. He stepped back, looked at his work, nodded once to himself, and moved to the next window. He was not just cleaning, he was practicing his craft. The next time you face a boring task, do not rush through it to get to something better. Do it with precision. Find the technique within the mundane. Do it better than you did it last time. Your focus will deepen because your engagement deepens, and engagement is the opposite of distraction. Number 15. They use a physical notebook for capture, not a phone. This is not nostalgia for analog tools or a rejection of technology. There is a specific neurological reason why paper beats glass for capturing thoughts. When you type a note into your phone, several things happen that undermine your focus. The notification center is one swipe away, a dopamine slot machine waiting to be pulled. The browser tempts you with the sum of human knowledge and distraction. The act of typing on glass provides minimal tactile feedback and minimal memory encoding. Your fingers tap and the words appear, but your brain barely registers the action. When you write by hand, the motor cortex engages more fully. The physical act of shaping letters requires fine motor control that activates broader neural networks. A 2021 study from the University of Tokyo confirmed that handwritten notes lead to significantly better recall and conceptual understanding than typed notes, even when the typed notes are more complete and verbatim. The slowness of handwriting forces your brain to process and synthesize information, rather than just transcribe it. Japanese professionals carry small notebooks, often a simple A6 size that fits in a pocket, and capture thoughts, tasks, and ideas by hand throughout the day. The notebook does not buzz, it does not have apps, it does not show you ads. It is a single-purpose tool for thinking. I switched to a pocket notebook 6 months ago, and the difference in my cognitive clarity has been remarkable. My ideas feel more solid, more fully formed. I remember my tasks without looking at them, because the act of writing them down encoded them more deeply. The physical act of writing slows my racing thoughts down just enough to clarify them. Try it. Carry a small notebook and a pen for 1 week. Every stray thought, every task, every idea goes onto paper instead of into a phone. You will be surprised how much sharper your thinking becomes. Number 14. They practice misogi, the purification of the workspace at day's end. At the end of every school day in Japan, students clean their classrooms. They sweep the floors, wipe the desks, erase the chalkboards. At the end of every workday, professionals tidy their desks, put away their tools, and reset their workspace to a neutral state. This is not about cleanliness for its own sake, though cleanliness is certainly valued. It is a psychological ritual of closure. By physically resetting the environment, you signal to your brain that the work is complete, that the day is done, that you are allowed to rest. A 2020 study from Hiroshima University examined the effect of end-of-day desk tidying on evening cortisol levels and next morning focus. The tidying group fell asleep faster, reported lower evening anxiety, and showed measurably better focus in the first hour of the next workday compared to the group that left their desks as they were. The mechanism is simple and profound. An unfinished environment, papers scattered, tabs open, tasks half done, keeps the brain in a state of low-grade activation. The Zeigarnik effect, our tendency to remember incomplete tasks better than complete ones, keeps those open loops running in the background all evening. Tidying closes the loops. The physical act of putting things away tells your brain that the work is over. I now spend 5 minutes at the end of my workday clearing my desk, closing all browser tabs, putting my notebook in its designated spot on the shelf, and wiping down the surface with a cloth. The mental release is immediate. My shoulders drop, my breathing deepens, I am done. End your day with 5 minutes of reset. Your tomorrow self will sit down to a clean desk and a clear mind, and you will thank your yesterday self for the gift. Number 13. They eat for steady focus, not for pleasure or convenience. The traditional Japanese diet, rich in fish, fermented foods, vegetables, and complex carbohydrates from rice, provides remarkably stable blood glucose throughout the day. No mid-morning crashes that send you to the office snack drawer. No post-lunch comas that leave you staring blankly at your screen from 2 until 4. A 2023 nutritional study from the University of Tsukuba compared the cognitive performance of workers eating a traditional Japanese breakfast, miso soup, grilled fish, rice, pickled vegetables, against those eating a Western-style high-sugar breakfast of cereal, toast with jam, and orange juice. The Japanese breakfast group maintained consistent attention scores throughout the entire morning, a flat, steady line of focus. The Western breakfast group spiked shortly after eating and then crashed hard around 10:30 a.m., their attention scores dropping significantly below baseline. The secret is not deprivation or calorie restriction. It is composition. Protein, fiber, and fermented foods slow digestion, provide steady energy release, and feed the gut-brain axis through beneficial bacteria. The gut and the brain are in constant communication, and a stable gut means a stable mind. I switched to a Japanese-style breakfast 3 months ago. Miso soup, a small piece of grilled salmon, a bowl of rice, and some pickled daikon on the side. It takes 15 minutes to prepare. The first week, I craved sugar at 10 a.m. like clockwork. My body was used to the spike and crash cycle, and it was asking for its next hit. By the second week, the craving vanished completely. My energy stayed flat and steady all the way until lunch. You do not need to overhaul your entire diet overnight. Just try a savory, protein-rich breakfast for 1 week. Eggs, fish, miso soup, whatever works for you. Notice your focus at 10:30 a.m. Notice whether you are reaching for snacks or cruising steadily through your work. The difference will speak for itself. Number 12. They practice nemawashi, the quiet pre-meeting alignment to free mental bandwidth. Nemawashi literally means digging around the roots. It is the Japanese business practice of informally discussing a proposal with all stakeholders before the formal meeting ever takes place. You talk to each person one-on-one. You explain the idea. You listen to their concerns. You adjust the proposal based on their feedback. By the time the formal meeting happens, everyone already knows what is coming. Everyone has already had their say. Everyone already agrees, or at least has had their objections addressed privately. The meeting itself is a formality, a rubber stamp, a ritual of consensus rather than a battleground. This saves enormous cognitive energy. In Western companies, meetings are often surprise attacks. Someone presents an idea, and the room erupts with objections, political posturing, and territorial defense. Your brain has to be in high alert defense mode the entire time, ready to parry arguments and protect your position. This is exhausting. In Japanese companies, The real work happens in quiet one-on-one conversations beforehand, often over tea or a brief walk. The meeting is calm, short, and focused because all the conflict has already been resolved. I started doing a version of this before client calls and important presentations. I send a brief pre-read a day in advance. I ask if there are any concerns we should address. I invite feedback privately. By the time we get on the call, the anxiety is gone. We can focus on solving problems together instead of managing surprises and defending positions. Before your next important meeting, do your nemawashi. Send context in advance. Ask for input privately. Remove the surprises. Your brain will be free to think instead of defend. Number 11. They practice kuchisabisha awareness, recognizing mouth loneliness. This is a uniquely Japanese concept that has no direct English equivalent. Kuchisabisha means your mouth feels lonely. It is the urge to eat or drink something not because you are hungry, not because your body needs fuel, but because your mouth wants stimulation. Your mouth is bored. Your mouth is lonely. The Japanese recognize this as a distinct state separate from actual hunger. And they see it for what it is: a distraction trigger masquerading as a physical need. When you reach for a snack during deep work, you are often not hungry. Your stomach is not growling. Your blood sugar is fine. Your brain is seeking a dopamine hit to escape the discomfort of sustained attention. The crunch of a chip, the sweetness of a cookie, these are sensory inputs that break the monotony of focus. Recognizing kuchisabisha as a named, identifiable impulse gives you power over it. Instead of mindlessly snacking, you can say to yourself, "My mouth is just lonely right now," and return to work. The naming creates a tiny gap between the impulse and the action, and in that gap lies your freedom. A 2022 study from Kyushu University found that workers who practiced labeling their cravings using this framework reduced mindless snacking by 38%. I now keep a glass of water at my desk at all times. When the urge to snack hits during a focus session, I drink water slowly and name the feeling. Mouth loneliness, it passes, it always passes. Name your distractions. When you feel the urge to check your phone, label it, brain boredom. When you want a snack, label it, mouth loneliness. When you want to switch tasks, label it, task avoidance. Labeling creates distance. Distance creates choice. Choice creates freedom. Number 10. They use the power of kensho, or seeing into one's own nature, for attention recovery. In Zen practice, kensho is a glimpse of enlightenment, a moment of clear seeing into the nature of reality. In the context of focus, it means developing the ability to notice when your attention has wandered and gently bring it back without self-criticism, without frustration, without the inner voice that says you are bad at this. This is not about never getting distracted. Even Zen monks get distracted. The goal is not perfect, unbroken attention. The goal is recovery speed. A 2023 study from Kanazawa University, a Zen-affiliated institution in Tokyo, examined the attention patterns of long-term meditators versus novices during sustained focus tasks. Both groups got distracted at roughly the same frequency. The human mind wanders. That is what minds do. The difference was in recovery time. Experienced practitioners noticed the distraction and returned to the task in an average of 4 seconds. Novices took an average of 22 seconds to even realize they had drifted, and then several more seconds of self-criticism before they could refocus. Over a workday, that difference in recovery time compounds into hours of lost productivity. I started practicing this by setting a gentle chime on my physical timer to go off every 15 minutes. When it sounds, I check in. Where is my attention right now? Is it on the intended task? If not, I simply return. No frustration. No self-flagellation. No story about how I am bad at focusing. Just return. Try it. Set a soft reminder every 15 minutes. Notice where your mind is. Bring it back gently, the way you would guide a puppy back to its bed. Speed of recovery, not perfection, is the goal. Number 9. They practice Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing, as a cognitive reset. Shinrin-yoku translates directly to forest bath, and it means immersing yourself in a forest environment with all your senses open. This is not hiking for exercise. It is not power walking with earbuds in listening to a podcast. It is not covering distance or burning calories. It is slow, deliberate sensory immersion in a natural environment. The Japanese government has designated over 60 official forest therapy trails across the country, and Japanese companies routinely send employees on Shinrin-yoku retreats as part of their wellness programs. This is not a fringe alternative practice. It is mainstream, government-endorsed, and scientifically validated. The science is robust and growing. A 2021 meta-analysis from the Nippon Medical School reviewed 24 studies and found consistent reductions in cortisol, improvements in heart rate variability, and significant increases in self-reported attention capacity after as little as 20 minutes of forest exposure. The mechanism involves phytoncides, antimicrobial volatile organic compounds released by trees that humans absorb through inhalation and through the skin. These compounds affect human immune function, mood regulation, and cognitive performance in measurable ways. I live near a small wooded park, nothing grand, just a patch of trees in the middle of the city. Once a week, I walk there without my phone, without music, without a destination or a time goal. I just walk slowly and notice the light filtering through the leaves, the smell of damp earth after rain, the sound of birds and wind. I touch the bark of trees, I breathe deeply. After 30 minutes, my mind feels washed clean, like a window that has been wiped clear of grime. You may not have a designated forest therapy trail nearby, but any natural setting with trees, a park, a riverbank, a tree-lined street will work. Once a week, go outside and do nothing but notice nature. Your focus will be sharper for days afterward. Number 8. They embrace wabi-sabi, acceptance of imperfect focus. Wabi-sabi is the aesthetic appreciation of imperfection, impermanence, and incompleteness. A cracked ceramic bowl repaired with gold lacquer is more beautiful because of its flaw, not in spite of it. The asymmetry of a handmade tea bowl is what makes it valuable. In the context of focus and productivity, wabi-sabi means accepting that some days your attention will be fragmented. Some days you will get less done. Some days your mind will feel like a browser with too many tabs open. And that is okay. That is part of being human. The Western approach to productivity is relentlessly perfectionist. If you did not achieve 4 hours of deep work, the day is a failure. If you got distracted, you lack discipline. This creates a layer of anxiety and self-criticism that actually degrades focus further. You are not just distracted. You are distracted and also beating yourself up for being distracted. The Japanese approach, informed by wabi-sabi, acknowledges that human attention is naturally variable, like the weather. Some days will be sharp and clear. Some days will be scattered and cloudy. Both are part of the same whole. A 2022 study from Dashisha University in Kyoto found that workers who practiced self-compassion around attention lapses recovered their focus faster and reported significantly lower burnout than those who were self-critical. The self-critical group did not focus better, they just suffered more. I now end my workdays with a simple reflection. What went well today? What was challenging? No judgment, no score, just noticing. The anxiety around productivity has diminished. And paradoxically, my focus has improved because I am not wasting energy being anxious about focus. Accept the imperfect days, they are part of the pattern. The pattern as a whole is beautiful. Number 7. They practice shisakenko, pointing and calling to reduce errors. This is one of the most visibly strange and scientifically validated Japanese habits you will ever encounter. Trained conductors, factory workers, and even office professionals in Japan use shisakenko throughout their workday. They point at something, state its status out loud, and confirm it visually. A trained conductor points at a signal and says out loud, "Signal is green." A factory worker points at a pressure gauge and says, "Pressure is normal." An office worker points at a document and says, "Page 3 is complete." It looks odd to Western eyes. It looks like someone pretending to be a robot or performing a children's game. But it works with an effectiveness that borders on the unbelievable. A 2020 study from the Railway Technical Research Institute in Tokyo found that shisakenko reduced workplace errors by up to 85%. Not a small improvement, a near elimination of errors. The mechanism is multimodal reinforcement. By engaging the motor system through pointing, the auditory system through speaking, and the visual system through looking, you force your brain to process the same information through 3 separate neural pathways simultaneously. The error rate plummets because an error would have to slip past 3 independent checks. I started using a modified version at my desk about a year ago. Before I send an important email, I point at the recipient address on the screen and say out loud who it is going to. I point at the subject line and read it aloud. I have caught so many mistakes before hitting send, wrong recipients, missing attachments, typos in the subject line that I will never go back. It feels silly for about 2 days, then it just feels smart. Try shisakenko during your next high-stakes task. Point and speak. You will catch errors you never knew you were making. Number 6. They use the concept of ikigai as a focus filter. Ikigai is often translated as reason for being, or more precisely, the intersection of what you love, what the world needs, what you can be paid for, and what you are good at. It is the sweet spot where passion, mission, vocation, and profession overlap. But in daily practice, ikigai serves a more practical and immediate function than existential life purpose. It acts as a filter for attention. When you have clarity on your ikigai, saying no to distractions becomes almost effortless. The request does not align with your purpose, so the answer is no. The meeting does not serve your mission, so you decline. The side project pulls you away from your core work, so you let it go. Japanese workers who report a strong sense of ikigai also report lower stress, higher engagement, and crucially, better sustained attention at work. A 2023 study from Tohoku University found that ikigai was a stronger predictor of workplace focus than any time management technique or productivity system. The reason is simple. When you know what matters, you know what does not matter. And what does not matter can be ignored without guilt. I spent a weekend clarifying my own ikigai. It was uncomfortable work, sitting with the big questions, admitting what I actually care about versus what I thought I should care about. But now, when a new opportunity or distraction appears, I have a single question. Does this serve my reason for being? If not, the answer is no. And the no comes quickly, without guilt, without the exhausting internal debate, freeing my attention for what actually matters. Write down your ikigai, not a perfect final version, a draft. Use it as a filter this week. Every distraction, every request, every shiny new idea gets measured against it. You will be surprised how many things fall away. Number 5. They practice asoji, the great cleaning, as an annual cognitive reset. At the end of every year, Japanese households and workplaces engage in asoji, a deep, thorough cleaning of every surface, every drawer, every forgotten corner. This is not spring cleaning in the Western sense, a quick tidy and a vacuum. It is a ritual purification to enter the new year, unburdened by the accumulated dust and clutter of the old one. Families spend entire days on asoji. Offices shut down for it. Schools make it a communal activity. The cognitive parallel is powerful and directly applicable to your focus. Just as physical clutter drains attention, mental clutter, unfinished projects, unresolved worries, unprocessed information, unreturned messages, vague commitments you made months ago and never followed through on, drains cognitive capacity. These open loops run in the background of your mind like apps you forgot you opened, consuming processing power and slowing everything else down. Asoji applied to your mental workspace means deliberately reviewing and closing every open loop. I now do a quarterly mental asoji, not waiting for the end of the year. I sit down with my notebook and a pen, and I list every incomplete project, every unreturned message, every nagging worry, everything I said I would do and have not done. The list is always longer than I expect. For each one, I make a decision. Do it immediately if it takes less than 5 minutes. Schedule it on my calendar if it requires more time. Or consciously decide to let it go, to cross it off and release myself from the obligation. The relief is physical, my shoulders drop, my jaw unclenches. The background processing load on my brain diminishes measurably. I can feel the freed cognitive capacity the next morning when I sit down to work. Do a mental asoji this weekend. List every open loop in your life, close as many as you can. Choose to release the rest. Enter your next week with a clean mental space. Number 4. They leverage the power of Sanao, the beginner's mind, to stay engaged. Sanao means open, receptive, free from preconceptions, willing to learn. It is the quality of approaching even familiar tasks as if for the first time, with fresh eyes and genuine curiosity. The opposite of Sanao is the expert's curse, where you have done something so many times that you stop paying attention. Your brain goes on autopilot. You could do it in your sleep. And so your attention drifts, errors creep in, and the hours pass without any sense of engagement or accomplishment. The Japanese cultivate Sanao by deliberately looking for novelty and routine. A sushi chef who has made tamago, the sweet egg omelet, 1,000 times still examines the texture of each batch as if it were his first. Still looks for subtle variations in color and consistency. A calligrapher painting her 10,000th character still studies the ink's flow on the paper with fresh eyes, still notices how today's humidity affects the brush stroke. A 2022 study from Keio University examined the brain activity of workers who were instructed to approach a repetitive task with Sanao, actively looking for subtle variations and learning opportunities. Their sustained attention was significantly higher than the control group, and they reported finding the task more enjoyable, even though it was the same task. I apply this to my own repetitive work. When I sit down to write, I ask myself a simple question. What can I learn about writing today? The question transforms the familiar into the fresh. Every sentence becomes an experiment. Every paragraph is a chance to discover something. Approach your most boring task tomorrow with Sanao. Look for something new. There is always something new if you are willing to see it. Number 3. They practice the mastery of interpersonal distance, to protect deep work. Is a martial arts concept referring to the optimal distance between opponents. Too close and you are vulnerable to attack. Too far and you cannot strike effectively. The master martial artist maintains exactly the right distance at all times, adjusting fluidly as the situation changes. In the workplace, means managing the distance between yourself and other people's demands. Japanese professionals are masters of creating boundaries without being rude, without being aggressive, without having to say no directly. They use subtle signals that communicate unavailability while preserving harmony. Headphones in but no music playing. A slight angling of the body away from the walkway. a small sign on the desk indicating focus time, a specific time of day when the office knows not to interrupt. These signals communicate a clear message: I am available but not right now. The key is that MI is proactive, not reactive. You set the distance before the interruption arrives rather than fending off interruptions after they have already broken your focus. I started using a simple visual signal in my own workspace. When I am in deep work, I put a small wooden block on the corner of my desk. My family knows that when the block is visible, I am not to be interrupted unless it is genuinely urgent. The block is not aggressive. It is not a do not disturb sign that feels hostile. It is just a quiet communication of my. Create your own my signal this week. A closed door, a specific object on your desk, a pair of headphones. A particular time of day that you block on your calendar. Set the distance before the distraction arrives. Number 2. They practice NEN, the art of sustained intention without tension. NEN is a difficult concept to translate into English. It means focused attention, but with a very specific quality of relaxed alertness. Think of a cat watching a mouse hole, completely still, completely focused. Every sense attuned to the slightest movement. But not tense, not rigid, ready without strain. This is the physiological state that enables the longest periods of sustained focus without fatigue. Tension exhausts, relaxed alertness endures. Japanese calligraphers, archers, and martial artists train for years to cultivate NEN. But the principle can be applied immediately, right now, in your next focus session. The next time you sit down to focus, check your body. Are your shoulders raised toward your ears? Is your jaw clenched tight? Is your grip on the pen or mouse too hard, your knuckles white? Release the tension while keeping the attention. The mind stays sharp. The body stays soft. A 2023 study from the Nagoya Institute of Technology used biofeedback to measure the physiological state of workers during focus sessions. Those who maintained low muscle tension while keeping high cognitive engagement sustained focus nearly twice as long as those who tensed up. The tense group fatigued faster and made more errors. I now do a 30-second body scan before every deep work session. I close my eyes and check in with my body from head to toe. Shoulders drop. Jaw relaxes, hands soften. The mind stays alert, the body releases. Try it now. Focus your attention on the sentence, but let your shoulders fall away from your ears. Notice how the focus remains while the strain releases. That is NEN. That is the state where your best work happens. Number 1. They treat sleep as the foundation of all focus, not as an afterthought. This is the most important habit on this entire list, and it is the one that makes all the others possible. The Japanese may have a reputation for working long hours, but they protect sleep with a cultural reverence that the West completely lacks. Inamuri at work is accepted and even respected because the underlying assumption is that the person was up late working diligently or caring for family. But the deeper practice is not napping at your desk. It is prioritizing sleep at home as a non-negotiable foundation. A 2022 study from the University of Tsukuba tracked the cognitive performance of workers across various industries over a full year and found that sleep quality was the single strongest predictor of next-day focus. Stronger than diet, stronger than exercise, stronger than any time management technique or productivity system. You can have the best habits in the world, but if you are sleep-deprived, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for sustained attention and impulse control, is functionally impaired. The Japanese approach to sleep hygiene is simple and consistent. Consistent sleep and wake times, even on weekends. A winding down ritual in the hour before bed. A cool, dark, quiet bedroom. No screens in the final hour before sleep. These are not complicated biohacks. They are the basics executed with consistency. I overhauled my sleep habits a year ago after reading that Tsukuba study and realizing I was undermining all my other efforts by sleeping 6 hours a night. I set a non-negotiable bedtime. I removed my phone from the bedroom entirely, buying a simple alarm clock instead. I created a 30-minute pre-sleep ritual of light stretching and reading a physical book, not a screen. The transformation in my focus was not subtle. Within 2 weeks, I was doing better work in less time. Within a month, I had stopped needing caffeine after noon. My afternoon energy was steady. My morning focus was sharp. Sleep is not time lost to productivity. It is the foundation on which all productivity is built. If you implement only one habit from this list, make it this one. Sleep 8 hours tonight. Do it again tomorrow night. Watch what happens to your focus. Watch what happens to your life. These 25 habits are not magic. They are not quick fixes that will transform your productivity in a single afternoon. They are a different way of relating to your attention, your work, and yourself. The Japanese did not stumble into their productivity by accident. They built it, habit by habit, over centuries of cultural refinement. You can build it too. Start with number 25. Clear your desk like a sacred altar. Try it tomorrow morning. Then add number 24, 1% better each day. The habits stack, the effects compound. And somewhere along the way, you will look up from your work and realize you have been focused for 3 hours without once reaching for your phone, without once feeling the itch to check something, without once losing the thread of your thought. That feeling is available to you. It is not reserved for Zen monks or Japanese salarymen. It starts with a single, simple habit. Start today.